Hello, and welcome to Behind the Seal, which is the podcast of the Missouri Secretary of State's office. Our previous host, Rachel, is out and about, so we're shuffling hosting roles. I'm Sam Swoboda. I'm one of the communications specialists here. I typically am running the show from behind the scenes, but I'm stepping up to help out here, but only briefly, because I'm joined by Paige Allen and Elizabeth Moots. Yep. Both interns here at the Secretary of State's office. Yes. And as we thought it'd be a neat experience for them to have them prep and host a couple of our podcasts while they're here this summer. So Paige, Elizabeth, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
So you're interns, you're still in school.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about what you're studying and the fields you're hoping to enter.
I'm studying strategic communications in the journalism school at Mizzou right now. And so honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do after. Definitely something with probably PR, marketing, communications, but I don't have like a dream company that I want to work for yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Elizabeth?
Yeah. So I'm an English and political science undergraduate student. I just actually took the LSAT, the law school admissions test, and am planning to apply to Mizzou Law and other law schools around the state in the fall. So that's kind of the goal for me.
Nice.
Well, let's hope it works out. Yeah.
So what kind of drew you to the Secretary of State's internship program?
With my internship experience, I'm trying to get such like a wide range of things. I've done like nonprofits. I worked for a bank, like communications internship. And so I wanted to kind of dip into the more political thing. And the Secretary of State office just sounded interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. So last semester I had the opportunity to intern in the Senate for the general counsel at the Senate Majority Caucus. So I was working with the lawyer there and kind of learning from a legislative perspective about the law as it functions with the General Assembly and with like politics and specifically drafting legislation. So I was looking for a summer internship, trying to kind of diversify what I was learning about, and I found the administrative side to seem really interesting, kind of not partisan, a really awesome opportunity to really learn what we do as an office and the legal side here. And yeah, it's just been a really great opportunity to get that perspective.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. This is, I think, my last question here. What do you like most about being down here and about this program, about Secretary of State's office, just in general?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I like the most is that everyone here wants you to learn so much about their position, so you get all this experience. Like, we've helped out in business services. I've helped with this podcast. I've helped with like social media posts, and there's always someone like stopping by my desk and like asking me if I know this thing and like telling me all about it. So I think just the amount of things that I'm able to learn here from all different people.
Fantastic.
Kind of a similar answer. I don't know if it's super common knowledge for everyone in normal society to know exactly what happens here at the Secretary of State's office. So it's been so interesting to me to learn about all of the divisions and all the work we do here that truly impacts pretty much everyone's daily life in the state of Missouri. And I've just been kind of in awe at everything that functions and processes through this office on a pretty big scale. And like Paige was saying, I've been able to learn about our Safe at Home program, our business services department. Here I am helping with the communications side of things. I've been able to meet so many amazing people as well. So yeah, that's definitely been my favorite part, is just really being able to conceptualize what's going on here. Yeah. Well,
fantastic. Well, it's great having you all here. And
yeah.
I hope you all are enjoying it. And I think it's about time for me to kind of pass the reins over to you and let you take it over from here. So we'll take a quick break and we'll get started with the second half of the podcast.
Okay. We're excited. Paige and I are super excited to have our first guest for our podcast Behind the Seal, Zeke Speiker here. He's the assistant to the Secretary of State. And today we're going to be talking a lot about the Missouri State Seal.
Yeah, so on our social media pages, we've been doing a lot of content with the NAS seal reveal where we kind of dive into a different aspect of the seal and the history of the seal, what we use it for, things like that. So we thought, why not film a podcast episode about that? And Zeke is an expert on the seal.
Yes,
so
you are.
we brought him in.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about, before we get into the seal, just kind of your experience here at the Missouri Secretary of State's office, kind of what you do in your role as assistant to the Secretary of State, and I don't know, just some fun facts about yourself, your life, whatever you're thinking.
Sure. Well, like she said, my name is Zeke, and I'm the assistant to the secretary. That role is pretty diverse in what I do. I help out with a lot of divisions when they need help. I help in business services with notaries and return mail. I schedule the secretary's county visits when he goes and visits the county clerks in the different counties. I drive him around, set up those meetings. Recently this week, I drove him to Boise State and went to the SIFMA conference in St. Louis. So securities, financial conference, and Boise State. Just Secretary Hoskins likes to invest in the youth, and obviously with all of us college students in here, he takes a chance and gives us opportunities to learn and grow. I just graduated with my degree in finance, and I'm going to Mizzou for law school in the fall. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that. And also as part of my job, we do proclamations or resolutions honoring people for different achievements or when they have a 100th birthday or different things like that. So if you know of anybody that is worthy of a proclamation, whether it's a really big wedding anniversary or a 100-year-old birthday, let us know, and I can maybe do a proclamation for you.
That's a good plug. Yeah. Yeah.
Something else that I also do as part of my job is I fill in at the Capitol office. So we have school groups come through, and we show them the different parts of the state seal. And there's actually an old state seal there that people can use, and they can stamp themselves with, and it tells you kind of what the different parts of the seal are and gives you a little bit of the history of it.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
I want to go on one of those tours. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go on one of Zeke's tours. He's a very good tour guide.
I bet.
So we can just jump into an introduction to the seal. So you just want to give a brief explanation for why the seal's important?
So the seal is really important because it's pretty much what signifies that something's in a state document and that's legitimate. Any bills that get passed by the legislature have to come to our office, and we have to stamp them. Any executive orders that the governor signs have to come through our office. We have to stamp them. Also for extradition, so if you have a prisoner in one state and you want to move them to Missouri or out of Missouri, the governors from the different states will write each other official letters and stamp them, and those have to get stamped with the state seal. And we also do proclamations that the governor sends over if he wants to lower the flag to half-mast to honor somebody. Those all come through our office and get stamped with a state seal, which is under lock and key. But I have seen it, and it's very cool.
I bet. Whenever you are physically stamping the seal, like what goes into that? Is it a really hard push? Like, what do you have to do?
So, I mean, there's different levels of how extreme you want to get with it, but we consider it, with our seal right now, we consider it a good stamp if you can see the hair on the bear.
Oh.
So some people stamp it, and they stamp it lighter, and you can't see the hair, which, that's fine.
That's okay.
But when I do it, I like to stamp it hard enough for you to see the hair on the bear.
Yeah. I just thought that could be a fun thing for people to know about, is that people are actually physically pushing down and physically stamping the seal. It's not an automated machine necessarily, or robot or something.
This isn't pre-printed stickers. Mm-mm. This is real life. We actually stamp it old school.
Yeah, it's a real seal.
It's under a real lock and key.
Yeah,
it's not digital.
And nobody has that key. Just kidding. So, do you know who all was responsible for designing the Missouri seal?
Judge Wells, I believe, is the one who proposed the state seal. It was adopted in 1822. Judge Wells was our attorney general for a time, and then he served on some different district courts.
Could you walk us through a little bit of what the seal looks like and some of the most important features on it?
Yeah, so the state seal, first of all, has the numbers 1820 Roman numerals, which is the year that Missouri began functioning as a state. We didn't technically become a state until 1821. But the Missouri Compromise was worked out in 1820, where Maine got to join the Union as a free state, and Missouri joined the Union as a slave state. So that's the year 1820. The the state motto is Salus Populi Suprema Lex Esto, which the official translation from the Secretary of State's office is the welfare of the people shall be the supreme law. But Judge Wells, who was the one who designed the state seal, his translation was let the good of the people be the supreme law. So that's a little bit of history there. You have the crescent moon here. So, it's the thinner phase of the moon, which showed that Missouri was a state with a little population relative to some of the others, but that as the moon gets fuller, Missouri would grow and have more people in it. So the crescent moon also stands for the second sun. So Louisiana Purchase was in 1803. Missouri was the second state that was formed out of the Louisiana Purchase.
I think I read that some people, whenever we put the crescent on there, were kind of like, no, that makes us look like kind of like second class. But no, it means like it shows that we're growing and we're the second son from the Louisiana Purchase and all of that.
That's interesting. So people thought that looked like lesser than...
I thought it made us look lesser than like other states, I think.
Okay.
A lot of the kids that I give tours and explain the seal to, they think it's a banana before I tell them that it's a crescent moon.
Right.
Right here you have the federal coat of arms with the bald eagle. He is holding an olive branch and arrows, which signifies that the power of war and peace lies with the federal government. Up top here you have a medieval knight's helmet. And as long as united we stand, divided we fall. The medieval knight's helmet is an ode to state sovereignty. So clearly we're very proud to be part of the Union, but we're also very proud to be Missourians. There are 24 stars up here. There are 23 smaller stars, with the 24th star being, the biggest star being Missouri, because we were the 24th state to join the Union. Another fun fact is that the state seal that is on the floor of the rotunda in the Capitol has 25 stars, so that's wrong.
That is
it's
wrong.
only supposed to have 24 stars.
Something that makes me a little curious is the belt buckle on the circle around the middle. Was that always part of the seal, or was that added?
I have heard an explanation at one point that it was like Missouri coming back together into the Union after the Civil War.
Okay.
I'm not
Makes
sure if
sense.
that's completely accurate or not, but that is an explanation that
We'll
I
go
have
with
heard.
it.
Okay.
The bears on the seal stand for the strength and bravery of our people.
With the bears, some people kind of wonder like why the bears are on there, because they're like, oh, were those grizzlies like actually native to Missouri?
So apparently when
Lately?
Lewis and Clark came around, there were some bears on the western side of the state,
Huh.
Okay.
and they were apparently supposedly stronger than your average black bear, so they were called grizzly bears. And a fun fact that I just learned, the statute that signifies what the state seal designates what the state seal has to encompass says basically a white bear or a grizzly bear. It turns out that the white bear is pretty much synonymous with the grizzly bear, and the term was first used in Missouri by Lewis and Clark in 1804.
Oh.
So if you look at this particular, we have a white bear and some non-white bears.
Bears
People
are
were
a hot
always
topic.
wondering why
Yeah.
it said a white bear or a grizzly bear. Well,
And I feel like the
Um,
bears are always different on every version of the seal you see.
this
They
is
are,
true.
They are. Yeah.
So some of the versions, the bears like are facing towards you, or one of them is facing towards you, one of them is facing inside. Sometimes they're more like on all fours or like leaning over more. It just depends on the version of the seal that you found.
How can there be different versions of the seal?
So clearly we have right here, it's a state seal, it's colored in.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have our seal that we stamp, it's not colored. So you have a mold and a cast, and you just stamp that onto things. So over time, the state seal, when the stamps get worn out, they have to create a new cast and a new mold for the new stamp. So theoretically, you could see it change from stamp to stamp to stamp, and just depending on who was making the stamp, who was drawing it at that time. So
Oh.
there are variations within the different seals that we have. The statute says that the seal has to have this element and this element and this element.
Okay.
I don't think that they attached a proof copy with the legislation back in 1822. I don't think they
No,
attached a proof
right,
copy
right.
of this is
This is
what
what
we
it
want
has
the
to
seal to
look
look
like.
like.
A hand-drawn copy.
Because they spell it out. You can go look it up on our website. We have the statute that tells us what parameters the seal has to be.
So I'm thinking we should talk about this artifact here now because it's so cool. And yeah, feel free to speak to that.
Okay, so there's a fun history surrounding the Civil War and the state seal. So just Missouri politics around the Civil War was really crazy because we were kind of caught in the middle of everything. So Governor Claiborne Jackson Claiborne Fox Jackson and Lieutenant Governor Thomas C. Reynolds were both elected in 1860. Okay? And in Jackson's inaugural address in January of 1861, he defended the actions of the states that had already seceded. He labeled the northern states as aggressors, and he called on Missouri to stand by its southern counterparts. But then a constitutional convention in March of 1861 voted not to secede. They voted to stay in the Union. Governor Jackson proceeded to organize a state militia and proposed a bill that would give him sweeping powers to arm the state. He sent agents to the Confederate government to try to procure arms and militia members to raid the federal arsenal in Liberty around Kansas City. And then in 1812, the Civil War officially begins. And then May 3rd, Governor Jackson orders a state militia to arm in different encampments throughout Missouri. And then a week later, Captain Nathaniel Lyon from the Union, he broke up one of these encampments in the St. Louis area, and that caused all sorts of rioting in St. Louis. And the legislature, right after that happened, the legislature passed Governor Jackson's bill that he was trying to get them to pass previously. That gave him a lot more authority. And so he named Sterling Price, a former governor and a military hero, as the commander of his Missouri forces. And then they went to some of the more moderate people in Missouri, said, hey, why don't you go try to talk with the Union captain and try to work things out? Well, they didn't get anywhere. And Governor Jackson came. He fled back to Jeff City, called for the men of Missouri to come, call the arms to defend their state. Well, within a day or two, the Union captain came and took over Jeff City. So Governor Jackson and the pro-Southern legislators all kind of fled Jeff City in the area, and so the Constitutional Convention, I believe it was in July of that year, basically declared all of those offices vacant. So they declared all of those offices vacant, and the General Assembly they declared vacant. And so they put in people at the convention, and they called for an election. So pretty much you have the people that the Union kind of recognized as governor, lieutenant governor, and then you had the people that were elected in 1860 that fled, that the Confederacy recognized as the governor and lieutenant governor of Missouri. At some point in this, the state seal gets taken from Jefferson City, and it doesn't get returned to Jefferson City to the official government use until 1869. So a little more backstory. So the governor and lieutenant governor, so Governor Jackson, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, they all kind of go together, and Governor Jackson dies. So then Reynolds was the Confederacy recognized lieutenant governor, but he steps in and says, hey, I'm the governor now, because the other governor died. And so it is actually Lieutenant Governor Reynolds that brings the seal back after the Civil War. So we actually went through our archives, and they have just restored some of these letters of exchanges. So I'm going to read it because it's a little hard to read. People know how to read cursive these days.
Sure.
But it says, to His Excellency J.W. McClurg, Governor of the State of Missouri. It says, any hesitation formerly felt on principles of general public law or on account of conflicting opinions within the state to deliver to its existing government the original Great Seal of the State of Missouri was removed by the fact that in November last, for the first time since 1860, state officers were chosen in profound peace at an election held throughout its territory. Therefore, to you, as the chief magistrate chosen at that election, it is herewith transmitted, now of no official value, it is still interesting as a relic of the time when civil war had not yet divided Missourians. May its return be an augury of the speedy oblivion of past strife and the complete restoration of fraternal feeling among us all. I remain, sir, with great respect, your obedient servant, Thomas G. Reynolds.
That is so cool.
And so he sends this letter on the 26th of May, 1869, which is 9 years since he was elected in 1860, and the Civil War ended in 1865.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 4 years after the Civil War ended. And then on the very next day, I believe, the governor of Missouri, who was the one that had just been elected, and he replies, "Dear sir, the good old seal of the state and your accompanying letter were received this morning. I believe I will express the feeling and sentiment of every good citizen in saying that it is gratifying to witness not only the return of the old seal to its original and legitimate place from which it had unwontedly strayed, but the return of an old and influential citizen to his legitimate duties. We will preserve and respect the seal as the original great seal of the state of Missouri, and admire it for its value, being founded in law, and will respect you for your maturity and honorable expressions, which was so ably expressed from you, the reflections of the character of one tried as pure gold in the refiner's fire. Such expressions from such a source, being a virtual, candid acknowledgment of the authority of the government, do more for a speedy oblivion of past strife than volumes of abuse. Be assured, the present state administration desires such a restorative of fraternal feeling that the day will be hastened for the restoration of every political privilege consistent with the state and national safety. I have the honor of transmitting the seal to the Honorable Francis Rodman, the Secretary of State, its legal custodian, together with your letter and a copy of this acknowledgement. I am, very respectfully, your obedient servant. Signed, J.W. McClurg."
And I just love that because it talks about like the preservation of the seal and just how important that is for Missouri's future. And we can kind of see that as it's culminated over the last hundreds of years, because obviously we've preserved it so beautifully and it's still the same that it was then.
I also think it's
design-wise.
really cool that this letter specifically says that the Secretary of State is the legal custodian of the seal.
Yeah.
So even though he sent it back to the governor's like, hey, this belongs to the Secretary of State.
This is my job, yeah.
And just like it does today, we're the keeper of the Great Seal.
Yes.
So Secretary Hoskins has a big responsibility on him.
Yes, he does.
So this is the original seal that was taken from Jefferson City during the Civil War. This is the actual seal.
That is crazy.
Let me repeat. This is the seal that was taken in 1861 and returned in 1869. This thing is old.
That is so
just,
old.
Just like the governor at the time promised, they've really kept this and preserved it for the history.
Yes, that is so cool. So where can listeners learn more about Missouri's history and our symbols?
I would say a great spot to go is sos.mo.gov. And you can look at anything from there. You can look at the archives tab. You can look at Missouri Digital Heritage. You can even, if you want to know about business services, or you want to register an LLC, or you want to become a notary, you can, all of those things at our website, sos.mo.gov. So, another plug. If any of you are in Jefferson City, come by our Capitol office. We can show you the Secretary's office, show you the seal. We give you a refresher on the parts of the seal, and we can take people to the top of the Capitol. So that's something you won't get on just a regular tour you sign up to take. Mm-hmm. So either your legislator can give you that, or our office can if you reach out to us.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Behind the Seal. Make sure to join us for our next episode. We were really glad to have Zeke on with us today to talk about the Missouri State Seal history, everything about it, honestly.
Thanks for having me.
So much interesting information today and coming up soon. Bye.